Hey, what's up, fine people of the world? So, a few days ago, I was riding my motorcycle. It's a moped, yeah. So it's like a small motorbike, and this is not the first time this has happened, but something interesting happened. Um, so I'm riding along, and like there's like a little hole in the road, like a pothole, whatever you call it, yeah? Like the road has got like this big, deep, it's not big, it's small, but deep hole in the middle of the road. And it suddenly pops up, and it's not that big. The road is like perfectly wide enough, but for some reason, I get drawn to that little hole. It happened. This has happened a few times here while I've been here in Southeast Asia. Frogs, like there's that old video game from the 80s of the frogs crossing the road and getting squashed. I realize now why that game exists because frogs do that. Like they'll jump and then they'll just stand and it's just like you're like, oh man. And the thing is, like you get drawn to hit the frog for some reason. Like fortunately, I've never hit a frog of me being aware, but the whole thing has happened a few times where like I'll be riding and then boom, all of a sudden out of nowhere, this I'm riding towards a hole and room, I'll ride right over the hole. And the road is like plenty wide. It's like wide enough, but I'll go straight for that hole. And it brings to mind for me, you know, why we are drawn to negative things. When you 90% of your life is actually pretty awesome if you think about it, but we're drawn to like the the few things that are negative, and we're constantly drawn to the negative things. So like if we keep eliminating negative things out of our life, and but yet we'll still find um, negative things. So, as far as my way of looking at this is that, there's a lot to be learned by being drawn towards things that are difficult, rather than, you know, enjoying, things that are great. When we focus on things that are negative and bad, or, that hurt us, things that hurt us, right? Because that's ultimately what those negative things are. We're drawn to that pain, to that suffering. You know, a lot of us are, aren't we? Like, we are, and when I say this, I'm also mindful of like it not being an affirmation. So, you know, a lot of us are drawn to the beauty as well in life, and the power and the energy and the awe, and just how awesome it is just to exist, really, despite everything, the ups and the downs and everything. But for some reason, many of us are drawn to suffering. Okay, there's a lot of reasons for this, and I've discussed so many different perspectives in many of my other videos. And for now, the perspective I'm interested in talking about is the fact that we're drawn to suffering because it's through suffering that we improve. Yeah. So it's almost as if we're scanning our life and then we find negative things, and then we go towards those negative things and we focus our attention on them, okay? But most of us don't know what to do when we get there. We seem to like dwell, and we get there, we were able to find the place of suffering in our life, but we wind up making a home there. And it becomes so comfortable that, you know, you can become comfortable with living in anxiety and fear all day long, so that when you no longer feel that anxiety and feel for fear for a moment, in an ironic, paradoxical way, that makes you anxious. That you're like, why am I not anxious? You become uncomfortable feeling comfortable, right? So we can wind up making discomfort and fear and anxiety and depression and sadness and anger and hatred and misery and you know all these um, all these things, these words that we've put on these feelings and these states of being that create suffering. And like, what is suffering really? It's resistance. It's resistance. That's what it is. We have acceptance, which is love, and then you have resistance, which is suffering, And resistance is what ages us. It's what hurts. It's what, damages, hurts us, Acceptance is a healthier way of living, of being. So at the end of the day, it doesn't come down to good or bad. It just comes down to whether you're resisting, i.e., are you driving your car down the freeway, but also you have the brakes on, and the brakes represent, safety, right? Like you put the brakes on to slow down, to be more in control, right? And the accelerator is more like love. It's like, just go, Of course, as I say in all my videos, balance is super important, but, understanding, where our suffering and our pain comes from. When we are spending most of our time, our attention, like I said, on driving on the road and immediately noticing something, negative, perhaps you could say, that hole in the road, but then just naturally, instinctually, just being drawn to it, almost like we want to tempt fate, as if we want to push the line and see how far we can go. It's like when your car is running out of gas and it gets to the orange, the light turns on, then you're like, I wonder how much more I can go with this. Humans, we're fascinated, we're explorers. Naturally, we're explorers, and I hear a lot recently about people talking about purpose, find your purpose in life. What's your purpose in life? To me, it doesn't really make that much sense when people bring that up, because I think humans, we tend to want to have a reason for things, it makes us feel better. Like if we have a reason, or, there is a start, there's a beginning, and there's a purpose. Okay, that's cool, there's nothing wrong with that. If that, there's nothing wrong with anything. At the end of the day, the way I see us is we're like just these, look at us. We're eyes, ears, mouth to taste, skin to touch. We're like these things that are absorbing information, and we're just here, we're absorbing, and there's millions of us, and we're all absorbing and learning, and we're all having a completely unique experience of this world, and we're all processing what we're absorbing in a unique way. So we are, we're almost like, sometimes I feel like, it's so hard to explain, but it's like we're like, scanning existence. We're like the perfect scanning devices. Not only do we scan, but we process what we're scanning, and we interpret it, and then we improve, So as far as our purpose goes, I'll make another video on that someday, but just very briefly, our purpose is just to exist, and just to there was a time, maybe a year or so ago, I would say that our purpose is just to exist and also just to be ourselves, as much as we can. But even if you're not, I mean, there's no way you can't be yourself. Even if if we go back to this thought of resisting yourself to come out, whatever, this we even if you're resistant, even if you lock yourself in your room all day long and you don't interact with the world, you're still going to influence the world. There's this book, right? How to Make Friends and Influence People. Oh man, I hate the title of that book. It sounds so fake and deceiving, but I haven't read this book, so like I don't want to judge, but just the title itself to me sounds like it's going to be creating like an army of like fake people who are going out there just to make friends, just to benefit their, just to get further along in life, which it's not a bad thing, but I don't know. Anyway, that's a whole other topic. But even if you're in your bedroom locked up all day long and you're not out there interacting with people, you're still influencing the world. Some of the greatest influencers that have ever come to be were people that did that. Because we all have energy within us, all of us, anyone out there watching this, we all have energy, powerful energy with us. It's just, how is that energy going to be expressed? Some people, are pretty much pouring their energy out all day long. They're out around with people. Their energy is like being shared constantly. They're active doing things. Then you might have people who are at home or in a studio or whatever, and they're just not around people, and even if they're depressed and angry and have issues and they're at home and they're just like not interacting with anyone, well, guess what? That's where some of the greatest arts, movies, stories, music, poetry, writing, comes from there. It comes from those people. So when those people are at home and they're focusing, they're building, their energy is just being built, and they are not able to express it like other people do, their expression can become much more powerful and focused, like a missile or a torpedo in the form of a song or an album or a book, or a painting, and sometimes those expressions can be so powerful that they will resonate for centuries, and they will influence people for centuries. So we're all going to influence people. Our voice is going to be heard. Okay, it's going to be heard one way or another. I look at things like Facebook, or Twitter, or all these social media sites and applications that essentially what is it that they've provided to people? If cigarettes like are giving people that nicotine fix, Facebook and those sites are giving us the fix of being heard, letting our voice be heard, giving us a platform to influence each other. And that's ultimately one of the greatest human needs of all. So Mark Zuckerberg or all the people that came before him with Friendster, and I don't know if anyone out there remembers Friendster, but whether they've knowingly done it or by mistake, they've managed to figure out one of the greatest human necessities of all, which is to be heard by our community, by others, because we can derive a sense of purpose, a sense of just be existing. We feel like we exist when we are able to express and share with other people. So you might be thinking, what is this video about? Where is this all going? Started off with squashing frogs on a road, and talking about how we're drawn to negative things, and now we're talking about our need to share and express. Well, at the end of the day, what wraps this all up nicely is what I always talk about in my videos, and maybe I don't talk about it enough, which is attention is power. Attention is power. And I wrote down a few things earlier, and I just want to kind of go through this, about attention, because attention is, if you learn how to master your attention or master attention, the attention of others, I mean, this is the source of so much power on earth, For those of you who have watched a lot of my videos, you already have an idea of what I mean when I talk about this. And for anyone out there who's watching this for the first time, wondering what are you talking about with attention? Just very, very quickly and briefly, your eyes are on. Your ears are always on, okay? Your skin is always, ready, is feeling the wind, the air, the temperature. Okay, but it's your attention that's going to decide to actually look and observe things with your eyes. I could be staring at this tree that's in front of me. It's outside, by the way. I could stare at this, but not even be aware that it's there, because my attention could be on my hearing, or my touch, or my thoughts. Most of us, our attention is on our thoughts, okay? And like that little hole in the road, most of our attention is drawn, just like it's drawn to that hole in the road. Most of our attention is drawn onto negative thoughts. I met someone a week ago who, we were in a steam room together. We started talking, and he's like in his early 40s, but he's in incredible shape. Looks very healthy. I thought he was maybe 34, something like that. But he's like 40, 44, excellent shape, mixed martial artist. Was diagnosed with cancer 7 years ago, and we were talking about this, and his wife left him. Okay, I mean, he went through a really brutal, devastating period in his life. But the reason I'm bringing him up is because when he, had the cancer, and he was going through chemotherapy. This has to do with how we're focused on the negative always. Okay. Obviously he just started, was thinking suicidal thoughts. Was thinking, his life is over. And his first week in chemo at the hospital, a nurse took him to a different ward and wanted to show him something, and showed him like the ward where all the children with cancer are, kids with leukemia, or all these other types of illnesses and cancers that they're going to most likely not survive. It changed like his perspective completely, and my guess is that he's not the first person that's being guided in this way. Okay. I was watching this movie yesterday that also reminded me of my conversation with this guy. And the movie was American Sniper. And, this, in the movie, towards the end, part of the story is that, this guy he's done like 4 tours of, being in war in Iraq. He's very traumatized, suffering post-traumatic stress, but suppressing it extremely. And he goes to see a therapist, and on day 1, the therapist tells him, "Come here, I want to show you something," and then takes him to see all the wounded warriors, with amputated limbs, and like anyway, as part of his therapy, he starts to like actually work with these people, and according to the movie at least, changes his perspective, and he becomes a happier person, much more, enjoys life much more and healthier. Okay, so if you've watched some of my other videos, this goes back to gratitude, being grateful for what you have, not focusing on the negative, focusing on the positive. Just a few days ago, someone posted a comment asking me about, hair loss, and, can I make a video about how to stay confident when you're losing your hair? Like, to me, I was just like, you know, fortunately, I have not thought about that or focused on that. Otherwise, if I do focus on my attention on that every day, then it's going to be a problem for me. I'm going to go out and I'm going to have low self-confidence and be thinking of that. So, you have to make a logical decision sometimes in your life of like, is this something I can change? And if not, then focus on your strengths. Even if it's something you can change or not, that's not even an important question to ask. What's important is just focus on your strengths, and then everything else will take care of itself. So I like this Buddhist monk who I believe practices in Perth, Australia, and he's such a cool guy, and he's one of the YouTube people I was watching. I started watching a couple of years ago, who I really liked. And his name is Ajahn Brahm, I think. Brahm or Brahm. He's an English guy who became a monk, and he was like studying, I think, particle physics or something like that, at, I think, Oxford or Cambridge University, and then decided to become a monk. Don't quote me on those facts, but anyway, he's great. You should watch some of his YouTube videos. One of my favorite ones is he talks about the 3 bad bricks in the wall, and how once he was building a monastery and he built this wall, and he had 3 bricks that were not aligned correctly, but all he was focused on were those bad bricks. And he goes on to talk about how now in cancer therapy, some of the leading cutting edge therapy is all about visualization and training cancer patients not to focus on the 2 or 3% of their body that has cancer, but to focus on the 97% of their body that's healthy, okay, to cure and kill the cancer. Because when you focus on that 3%, that 4% that's negative, that's unhealthy, attention, that's your attention. What does attention do? Attention is power. When you put your attention on something negative, what are you doing to it? You're powering it up. You're going to grow it. You're going to make it stronger. So if I put my attention on the fact that I'm losing my hair or whatever, I've lost it now. It's not even losing. But, I shouldn't say that. That's not negative self-talk, right? So, I'm very blessed and grateful for, all the hair that I have remaining. But my point is that, we have to put our attention we have to be aware that what we put our attention on will become powerful. So be very mindful. When I'm driving down that road and, my attention gets taken by something negative, the hole in the road, what happens is I immediately drive over the hole, right? See the power of our attention. So when we train ourselves to focus our attention on positive, then our life will be guided towards that rather than to the hole. And it's, I think, important to ask, well, why are we guided or pulled towards negative thinking? Why? And at the beginning of this video, I was explaining it a little bit, because perhaps through suffering, that's how we improve. That's how we learn. Being drawn to suffering is not such a bad thing. It's just when we get there, what are we doing? Are we dwelling in it? Are we making it our new home? Or are we facing it, dealing with it, and moving on? Okay? Processing it, digesting it. You find something negative in your life, face it, analyze it, do some work, eat it, digest it, crap out what you don't need, absorb what you need, the knowledge, the teaching, the wisdom from the suffering, But move on, life goes on. So just to quickly read what I had written down here regarding attention being, attention is power, yeah? So why, going back to Facebook and how everyone's addicted now because we get to share our voices, but more so than sharing our voices is that we're receiving attention, which is power, okay? It's perhaps not coming from where it should be. The ultimate source of attention is self-attention. When you meditate, people meditating, they're focusing on their attention on their breath, on themselves. They're basically creating like an energy field around them, and all this energy that from the attention is just being soaked. They're bathing themselves in this attention. And anyone out there can do this. You can sit there for 2 minutes and then just focus your attention, train your attention on whether it's your breathing or feeling your hands, your body from the inside, or whatever. Learn to train your attention. It's so powerful. And then when you drive around and then you find a hole in the road, which is a metaphor for if you're living your life and something negative comes along, you will have some training so that you can divert your attention and your focus onto positive things. But Facebook, things like that, people crave attention. Why do we crave attention? Because we can feel relevant. We can feel important. We feel valued. We can feel loved. We feel like we have a purpose, But it's interesting, purpose to who, to what, It's our community. We feel, we want our community to know we exist. We want to share with our community. We want to find our place in our society. We all want to feel relevant and needed, We want to be heard here. I'm writing, this is stuff that I wrote down earlier. We want to be noticed. We want to exist. We need others to recognize our existence. I remember reading once, I don't know if it was in the Bible or some religious text, that God created man just to know that, just to be observed. Because, it's an interesting thought, So, these are just thoughts. I'm just sort of speaking out loud here. Let's see what else I wrote here. So we almost need others to recognize our existence. So this is what people are getting from Facebook, from the attention. The more people recognize we exist, the more important and relevant we feel. You'll find people that don't mind being hated, but they just want that attention. They're still getting powered by it. There's a lot of celebrities that are hated, but that attention makes them feel relevant. Hey, I'm getting attention, so it must be important. People care about me, and then I come to this, which is, so our purpose is to resonate, is to influence this huge pond with our unique ripples. And this is not our nipples, our ripples. I'm going to wrap this video up with this. This will wrap it up nicely, which is that, as I was saying earlier, regardless of what you do, we're going to all influence the pond. Whether you're locked up and at home and you think oh, my life has no meaning, I'm not doing anything important, trust me. Tiny ripples affect the pond. conversation that you have with someone is going to affect the world. A comment that you're going to put on YouTube video, anything you do is going to affect the world. We're all affecting the world. You know, we all don't realize it, how powerful we are. You know, I believe even that with our thoughts, we can influence the world. And what I mean by that is that I believe that we're all linked in some way. And when you think something, it's somehow being shared with almost like a global hive that we can't see, but it's like an information hive, you know? So I do believe that whether you like it or not, you're affecting this world. That's right, you are affecting this world in some way, okay? And whatever you do, you're going to be affecting it in your unique way. Whether you're resisting, you know, whether you're driving down the freeway with your brakes on, or if you're totally free and, you know, you're like hippie love and woohoo, yeah, freedom, you know, you're totally 100% free, which, by the way, I think balance is important, right? But whether you're closed, resistant, you know, and you're locked up, hermit, no friends, whatever, or you're just free-spirited person that's going out and blah, 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 you know, you're just like whatever, social butterfly. Or as I like to call them sometimes, annoying hippies. Just kidding, just kidding. Whatever it is you're doing, there's no right or wrong, okay? You're going to be affecting the pond in some way. So don't worry about having your voice heard, you know? And nowadays, things like Facebook are almost in a way watering everything down. So all those people that didn't have their voices heard, who were maybe creating art and music, you know, because they couldn't express themselves, they couldn't share, they couldn't be heard. Now they're just uploading their feelings on Facebook and saying, oh, okay, yeah, that's out now. You know, so we're more than ever, there are channels for us to be affecting and influencing each other. But it's very important to be always mindful of attention. What your attention is on, remember it can be on your eyes, your vision, your ears, your hearing, your touch, and it can be on your thoughts, yeah? And the more and more you train yourself through journaling, through all the techniques that I talk about, you know, there are so many techniques to help train yourself, your attention, so that you'll train your attention to lean towards positive things more. You know, like the cancer patient who will learn to do that, will be trained to do that. You know, we often learn and get trained to do these things when we face difficult things, difficulty. That's why, you know, Einstein, he says, in the middle of difficulty lies opportunity, right? That's why most great, successful people have come from hitting rock bottom, have come from, you know, a place of great suffering and pain, breakups, divorces, you know, illnesses, you know, because when they get down there, they realize that they have to turn it on and they have to train themselves to see the positive, okay, in order to survive, okay? So if you're going through something difficult, whether it's a breakup, a divorce, an illness, whatever, it's a huge opportunity for you right now to train yourself. Your mind is like your body, it's like your muscle. You can train it in being more positive thinking, you know, to see the positive more, okay? All right, everyone. Yeah, I mean, this is like, we can ramble on about all this for hours, and it's awesome stuff, isn't it? It's awesome stuff for us all to like talk about, to listen to, you know, to have our attention on, you know? we can improve each other this way. We can sharpen, as they say in our gym, iron sharpens iron, or steel sharpens steel. So we all will sharpen each other, yeah, with all this knowledge, sharing it out there. So yeah, I hope you all have a great Sunday if you're watching this on a Sunday. Otherwise, have an awesome week, and I will be in touch soon. Adios for now.